This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. As the engineers of Super Earth continue to outfit us with more tools to take on bots and bugs, we're back looking at more of the weapons of Helldivers 2.
For Helldivers, a short 50 cal machine gun makes somehow some sense, and I kind of want it. Is it any good, Dave?
It's more fun than it is good.
Oh. I was afraid you were going to say that.
Your major order today is to like the video, subscribe, and let us know in the comments section down below what future episodes you'd like to see. But for now, it's over to Jonathan.
Come back! Intriguing design there. Having drunk the Kool-Aid, I am now also a player of Helldivers. But I haven't seen this yet. This is a new marksman rifle.
Yeah, this was added into the recent war bond.
Unusual combination of design here. So very tapered, triangular looking sci-fi front end. But there's something about that lower receiver that reminds me of this. Specifically, this shape here. And the arrangement of the magazine with a rock-in catch. This is of course the FAL, or in this case an L1A1 SLR. And it has the optic, the suet sight. It overall reminds you of the, or me anyway, of the XM8 with that tapered shape. But the weapons in this game really do have their own kind of aesthetic, and they're not too worried about basing it on anything from the present day. And why should they be?
Not too dissimilar to the FAL, this thing is way more useful firing semi-automatic than in bursts or automatic fire.
Well, as I'm sure a lot of you know, that was so true of this that the British military version, the catch is designed such that it cannot even go to auto, and there's no auto sear or safety sear inside. Now, design-wise, there isn't really a reason for this to have that bulky, tapered front end. But referencing the XM8, that was designed to look cool. One of a handful of designs where we know that go away and make it cooler, actually factoring in to the design.
Orbital strike.
Okay, what the heck is that? A shotgun that blasts a wide burst of high voltage electricity. Does not compute. A shotgun fires shot, not electricity. I guess the idea is it functions like a shotgun. Actually, a very interesting take on the shotgun concept. I was thinking it was going to arc from the target you strike. It actually seems to be an electric shotgun effect. For some reason with a pump grip, for some reason with a spinny thing in the middle.
You'll see when my fellow Helldiver reinforces near me, the electricity does not discriminate.
Ah.
He instantly lands and then is buckled to his knees by an arc of lightning.
Yep. Oh dear. Perennial hazard in this game. True of real life as well. Don't play near electrical substations, kids. Those of you of a certain age will remember the public information film that had some poor kid get zapped. Don't know why I thought of that. But it's more kind of realistic-ish looking lightning style energy with these weapons that I think is very cool. Always like the Quake 1 lightning gun.
The effort it seems to take to pump the grip, it's like the effort you put into charge one of those like rechargeable torches or something. Like he's like you're putting the electricity in through like kinetic transfer.
Yep.
So the rate of fire is also super slow because of that.
It does look like that's what's happening. Like you're inducing a current by spinning a magnet inside a coil of wire. It's probably what they were inspired by for that. Doesn't really make any sense at all, but it keeps it shotgunny. So there's that.
This bolt-action rifle fires jet-assisted shells that explode shrapnel in all directions upon impact. Not recommended for close-quarters use.
I can imagine not. That's kind of cool. Bolt-action grenade launcher. You're probably thinking why. But there really is a bolt-action grenade launcher, which is, well, more than one actually. But the one I'm thinking of is the Daewoo K11, which is the sort of Wish.com OICW. The OICW was a semi-automatic grenade launcher and a select fire carbine underneath it. But the K11 has a bolt action grenade launcher. It saw actual production, and somebody might have bought it, I don't know. Whereas the OICW just kind of didn't. The bolt is in a bizarre place, having to reach all the way forward there. Not really, I don't think that would be popular. Now, there's no reason why this couldn't be semi-automatic, other than gameplay, obviously. Daewoo went with a bolt action one, I think for weight and complexity reasons. But this being a standalone launcher, you could just have it be semi-auto.
Because the angle of which you shoot can affect the round. There was a moment when I was using this where I shot, missed, hit below a bug and hit the bug behind it.
Yes, I just saw that. You slowed it down for me and I still missed it first time. Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, while we're at that, something I completely failed to notice until I actually played the game is the very clever way that where the muzzle is pointing is dealt with. Normal first-person or third-person shooters, reticle is where your shots will go, and all you have is the simulated dispersion. Helldivers 2 has the simulated dispersion lines, but it also has a circle that moves where your muzzle is currently pointing. So ideally, you only want to shoot when your muzzle is aimed at the target, and that's a fantastic gameplay mechanic. Such a clever way of doing it, but I don't think I've ever seen it done in another game. Proof, if proof be need be. That's a very old reference. You can only learn so much by watching. And crucial here, because the grenade is able to skip, so you can make a judgment call on firing when your circle isn't over the target and let it skip. For what is a inferior brainless shooter, there's quite a lot going on. Okay, a grenade pistol. There have been a couple of these pop up at shop shows in the last few years. It's like a super truncated pistol gripped 203 derived grenade launcher. This is very, very compact and pistol-like. Apart from the couple of designs that are out there that really are pistol sized and are pretty questionably useful for that reason. Closest thing we've got would be this. This is the the underbarrel grenade launcher unit from the HS VHS-2 rifle, which is optionally fitted to a buttstock assembly. And it essentially creates a, in theory, one-handed weapon. Obviously, in reality, that's not what it's for. And you must extend the buttstock and flip up the sights and use it as a proper aimed weapon. It will actually spring out for loading, and you load it in parallel here and then roll it back into position. So realistically, this thing is as short as you're going to want to go, and in a pinch you could shoot it like this without the stock deployed. Wouldn't recommend it. Now, there was a one-handed 203 inspired launcher designed by LMT, Lewis Machine and Tool. They created this vaguely piratical, one-handed, very compact pistol format grenade launcher. It might be an inspiration for this in Helldivers, I don't know. This is much more pistol looking than that, and it doesn't take any real design cues from it. They probably just come up with this on their own, to be fair.
Dropship! Ready to liberate!
New machine gun. It's got bigger rounds, it appears.
Bigger rounds and a hell of a lot more recoil. It's very difficult to use, but will punch a hole through an automaton quite nicely.
Okay, but it's very short. So a heavy machine gun. The term heavy machine gun varies over time. Originally, it was things like the Maxim gun, literally heavy guns that have a big mount that's heavy as well, and you have to relocate them to use them. And the term heavy changes over time. This is a reference to the current understanding of a heavy machine gun, i.e. things like the Browning M2, where it's a 50 caliber or a 12.7 or a 14.5, heavy round and heavy gun. But this is more like the fairly recent-ish, sort of, 1980s onwards, assault machine gun, note the scare quotes, concept, where you can carry the thing forwards in the assault. So it has to be light, and the best way to do that is to make it short. Now, I haven't seen, I don't think, something like a 50 cal machine gun that's this short. There'd be no real reason to do it. The closest you'd get would be a short, relatively like 16-inch barrel, 338 Norma or something like that. Yes, those 50 cal rounds, or whatever equivalent this is, are extremely destructive, but you are losing some velocity from them with such a short barrel, and you may as well be firing something like 338 Norma or 338 Lap or a Magnum. But for Helldivers, a short 50 cal machine gun makes somehow some sense, and I kind of want it. Is it any good, Dave?
It's more fun than it is good.
Oh. I was afraid you were going to say that.
I did have a good time with it, especially dialing up the fire rate max and there being a heck of a lot of bugs in front of you where it's impossible to miss is very satisfying.
Impossible to miss sounds good to me. Heavy machine gun emplacement. Now, I haven't tried this yet. I kind of desperately want to because it's a gun and it looks really cool. We've got reciprocating barrels here, so implied to be some sort of long recoil action, I guess, or just because reciprocating barrels look cool and AT-ATs have them in Star Wars, so probably why this has them. The ammo chutes are very reminiscent of aircraft guns, obviously. Some ground-based guns as well. These are fully enclosed ammo chutes, so maybe they're feeding loose rounds, not belts. Don't know. Lots of smoke, lots of flash, lots of noise. That's what you want from a heavy machine gun.
It's just extremely satisfying shooting one of these things down from space in a pod, hopping on it, and then when it's done, it just retracts back into the ground.
I'm sold. I'm getting one. I don't care how useful it is.
Yeah, I definitely play this game via rule of cool more than what like the meta is.
I think the true meta is that. If you understand what this game is about at its core, play it however you want, as long as you're imagining action movies and science fiction. You're kind of hanging off it here. So your feet are kind of braced, but you're using, I guess, your arm strength to hang on to it. The way that's normally done is with a seat. You would have a folding seat. We have guns in here that I can't easily show you with seats on them. The other way is you strap yourself in. You have these curved shoulder brace things. The Oerlikon deck guns on Royal Navy ships, which we have one of, did it that way, and you strap yourself in. Now, that's mainly so you can't, fall off the gun while you're traversing and things, but it would enable you to shoot the gun like this, where you're kind of hanging onto the gun itself. Oh, another system is a big curved kind of bar that's padded, and you literally lean back on that. This has none of those.
Allied destroyer joining squadron, deploying Helldiver.
That was a fun hot fuzz moment there, Dave. Diving through the air, firing an anti-tank weapon.
Thank you. I'm glad you recognise.
I haven't tried that. I will have to give that a go. So the expendable anti-tank, two schools of thought really with shoulder-fired anti-tank weapons. One is you have a reloadable system that's more robust and you shove a rocket or a missile into it and fire the next one. The other is that you fire what's in the tube and you throw it away. And this is very much that school. So the closest thing I could find to that is actually behind me. This is the Law 80. 80 as in 1980s when, so this was the sort of light anti-tank weapon complement to the SA-80. Very heavy when it's got its munition, its rocket in here. This is a prototype, XL1E, it's marked. 94mm heat, so it's a high explosive anti-tank warhead in here. It's really quite similar to the Helldivers system. We have to extend the launcher. It clips into place so that you've got enough, otherwise you'd be getting roasted by backblast and your teammates might be as well. You've got to have enough of the proverbial milk bottle to launch the rocket from. And that is a sort of, it's a prism and there's a light gathering thing in the front, and in daylight, not under these lights, there's a grid aiming reticle that appears in that prism in front of your eyes. And then the firing grip is this. So not entirely like the Helldivers weapon, but in principle it very much is. Unguided, like the Helldivers weapon. And I bet you wish it was guided. I know there's a guided weapon in the game, but it ain't that one. And this is not guided either. Now the Law 80 was replaced by the now very famous N-Law system, which is guided. So a huge improvement there. This thing is not, but it does have an aim assist of sorts. Underneath, and you can see the breech of it here, and the muzzle of it there, is a spotting rifle. This weird plastic receiver, internal magazine, and a 9mm barrel, and that gives you 5 simulated shots that are just bullets that match the impact point of the rocket. So you get to fire 5 shots to work out where you're hitting, then you flick the switch, and the same trigger will let you shoot your rocket at your armoured vehicle, or whatever you're trying to destroy. So you might wish that the Helldivers version had that aim assist feature. I know I do when I miss virtually all of my shots.
Well, luckily you can call down a new set of expendable anti-tanks every 70 seconds, so you're fine.
Something, of course, that soldiers are not able to do, per se, in the real world. But yeah, if you miss, you can always get more down. In reality, I'm sure the same veterans that recognise this will be groaning in the memory of having to hunt these things around, because they're pretty hefty. But extremely valuable. 700mm of rolled homogeneous armour that thing could defeat. So basically any enemy tank, except for things with explosive reactive armor, that kind of thing, you could kill with that. Whereas the thing it's replacing, partly the Law 66, not a chance to knock out a main battle tank with that. Quasar cannon. I picked this up off a body the other day and had no idea what I was doing with it, and then died. What is it, Dave?
It's a giant energy-based sort of heavy weapon, anti-tank weapon. I don't actually know what a quasar is.
The heart of a star, I think?
The gravitas of the name suits the impact of the weapon, I think.
It does. I just saw that dropship get taken down, seemingly by a one shot from that thing. Yeah, very cool, very sci-fi.
Mag's empty.
This is reminding me of something with that V-shaped array of thingamajigs that are pulsing in and out as well. We've seen something like this in a different game. I like the fact that the ammunition container has a skull on it. Actually, a few of the weapons have random Helldivers skull on them, don't they? Thinking about it. I'm not getting a clear sense of how this thing works.
I think it's plasma based, so
plasma.
I guess it's hinting that the energy source is being channeled through those pulsing bits and bobs. But yeah, those things on the top make me think of like Fallout plasma gun, or some of the weird sort of steampunk steampunk greeblies that you see on Bioshock guns. It's very cool. This is currently the last gun you unlock. So thankfully it's quite effective, because it would be absolutely devastating if the last gun you unlock after all that work was a bit naff.
It would. Looks very cool over the shoulder view, actually, this, more so than first person.
The description is just a plasma rifle firing a bolt of superheated gas which explodes on impact. Avoid standing in proximity to the blast.
At least they give you the warning, I suppose. Yeah, I can see the splash now. Well, I look forward to unlocking that in about 75 years.
Because of these episodes, the main thing that I've bought is weapons from the various war bonds, to the point that the people I play with now annoyed at my lack of boosters that I can bring to the group. I'm sorry, all of my medals go towards guns.
Good man. That's what we like to hear. More importantly, even than that, is can I get that cape in a colour other than yellow?
No, I don't think you can.
Damn it.
But it goes quite nicely with the sort of trench fire outfit.
My only drawback on the cosmetics with this game is that you're stuck with whatever colour scheme they give you.
If it helps, my girlfriend is just upset because they haven't added any cute armour in yet.
So the couple that hell dives together stays together.
The automatons flee before us. Let them find no rest.
That laser rifle is very Fallout. Kind of sounds like an automatic firearm.
Yeah, it's like firing bursts of lasers rather than one consistent laser.
The sound effect isn't very lasery. I like the side-loading kind of camcorder ammo thing. It looks like as you're firing, that aiming reticle ring that normally moves around relative to how the gun is being held, i.e. the more you move, the more it moves, seems to be negated by this thing. It seems to almost lock on what you're shooting at somehow.
It is extremely flat shooting. There's basically like no recoil, which is one of the upsides of the weapon. So if you're trying to hit critical areas like an automaton's face, it's really good for that.
Yeah, I would have maybe made it not sound like an ordinary rifle. Good design though. It's kind of Fallout meets NASA. I don't know why it would need to have that curved shotgun style grip stock. No reason why it couldn't have a pistol grip. Although if it doesn't have much recoil, then I guess you can afford to keep the profile of the weapon down by making it more like a shotgun stock. I definitely like the idea that laser weapons are just heat dependent, and what you reload is something that disperses, contains the heat and gets rid of it. Always quite like that idea. Even though functionally it's kind of the same thing as a magazine.
It's interesting after playing with a bunch of the weapons for some time now, some of the more minor differences, like this staggers enemies less, like makes them flinch less. It's just energy bolts going through them or burning them or something. So there is like slight differences, even though largely they're pretty similar being assault rifles.
Does this thing cool down if you let it, or is the heat sink like permanently at that heat level until you eject it? If you see what I mean.
If you stop shooting, it will cool down.
It will.
Slowly.
Okay.
But if you burn out the heatsink or need to fire again more quickly, you can just swap out the heatsink again.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that's the clear difference between that and a magazine system, and makes it worthwhile, basically. You're not locked into it overheating and waiting for it to cool down.
And it means there's further diversion between the weapons depending on the planet you're fighting. So this is more useful on an ice planet where your heat builds up slower. But it might actually be a disadvantage if you take it to a really hot planet where the heat buildup is going to be a lot faster.
I remember you saying about ambient heat being an issue for energy weapons in one of the previous ones. I haven't had to contend with it myself yet, but that's really good. It is. This game's intriguing for how many kind of real world inspirations it takes. It's not obviously in any way realistic, but it does take a lot of its inspiration from things that have happened or that exist. FAF 14, which is amusing if you speak British, faffing around. And this is the guided anti-tank weapon. So this is more like your N-Law or Javelin. Huge improvement for infantry anti-tank to be able to, well, two major things. One, guided systems that mean you lock on and just hit a button or pull the trigger and it will do its thing, hopefully. And second, that top attack where you can hit in the most vulnerable bit of the armor, potentially also shoot over cover as well. And certainly seems to be what's happening here. It's coming in at an angle, still hopefully hitting the top.
Yeah, you can't even fire it unless you've got a lock on. So
right,
you're really reliant on being able to lock onto an enemy. But it definitely packs more of a punch than the expendable anti-tank. It's just, I think, more of a niche use.
Yeah.
Trading off that punch for usually a guaranteed hit.
Wow.
And obviously if you're fighting a bunch of armoured enemies, you've got the advantage of the assisted reload to really fire a few.
Yes. It really took a chunk out of that charge's carapace, didn't it?
Yeah, sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. It's the weapon's in an odd place in terms of gameplay, but it is cool, like landing those guaranteed hits and locking onto tanks in the distance.
Yeah, very good. I'm too rubbish to have seen any of those yet, so both in terms of how frequently I play and what I've unlocked.
Come out!
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed More Guns, part 3 no less, from Helldivers 2. As always, check out our Royal Armouries stuff that we do. We've got museums, we've got social media, we have our own YouTube series, well, 2 actually, occasionally featuring me, and one of them nearly always featuring me. Should you enjoy that sort of thing. It's got guns, if not. Please do join us on those, but we will be here again on the GameSpot channel next week.